what I try to do with my clients is like that, like I said, that biofeedback is huge. And so I know like what we need to hone in on. So instead of doing like 5 tests, we can like, let's start with 1, but working with someone that can identify like what you need and what's priority in your health, I think is huge.
Welcome to the Coast Podcast. I'm Emily, a virtual assistant agency owner who left Amazon in 2019 to build my dream.
And I'm Whitney, a freelance writer and communications consultant who never felt at home in a cube farm.
We wanted to learn from people who paved their own ways like we did. So we created this podcast to talk to others who were brave enough to pick a different path. Creatives, entrepreneurs, people doing their careers and their lives their way.
Join us as we make new friends, get inspired, and show you beautiful paths less traveled.
Not every road leads to the coast, but the ones that do come with a great view.
Hello and welcome back to the Coast. I am Whitney Popa and I am here with my sorority sister. I'm so excited. Sarah Martinez, who is a coach, a gym owner, and a certified personal trainer and board certified holistic nutritionist. And I have been talking her ear off for the past 5 minutes about how excited I am for her to be here. And as you know, I own a communications consultancy in Edmonds, Washington. Sarah is in Las Vegas and has been there since she graduated from our same school at the University of Idaho. We were DGs together. And so I've been watching her journey and finally reached out to her to just be like, can you tell me everything about how you got here? Because I was just fangirling about this, not that it's the most relevant part, but she coaches people who have been on The Challenge, on The Bachelor, The Twins, if you ever watched those seasons. And now her whole journey from moving to Las Vegas and doing bottle service to owning her own gym. And now she's going into building on her career to become a functional medicine practitioner, I think is like kind of what you called it. So I'm really interested in hearing about that. But I've just been so in love with your journey, especially as your elder. To see where you've been and where you're going. And I just love to start like wherever you want to. Like, I don't remember what you majored in college. So you graduated from college with a degree in, and then what?
Yeah, well, thank you for having me, Whitney. I'm excited to be here. So I graduated with my bachelor's in communication and then a minor in recreation. And then I went back to school about a year after graduating and got my master's in sports management.
Wow. I remember like I have this very weird like random memory that like every time you have a post where I'm like, go Sarah, and you're teaching me about like how to work on my glutes. And I'm just like, yes. And then I have this memory that comes into my head of some of these things that we did in the sorority of like your parents writing a letter to you. For some reason, I have in my head, you were a big soccer person in high school and your parents like made fun of you for being chubby or something like that. They were like, she was chubby and then she got into soccer or something. And I remember you being like mortified that they wrote that about you and me being like, wow, she does seem like a soccer star. Like, I don't remember anybody else's letters, but I remember something about that. And like sports were always a part of it for you. And then the chubby part, I don't know like why that stuck with me. I think because you had a reaction.
I vaguely remember that. Maybe I blacked that out. Maybe it was like a trauma for me, a childhood trauma. But yeah, I was really involved in sports growing up. That was a big part of my life. I think that's what kind of made me want to get into exercise and personal training, and now being a gym owner too. So it's all kind of, led me to where I am now.
Were you like, so you were big into soccer in high school?
I was actually track. I know it's been a while, but it was track. Yes. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that's like the antithesis of anything that I would ever do because I don't like running. But I'm curious, like, so you're a comms major, and with a little bit of rec. My dad was a recreation major at University of Idaho. So that like speaks to my heart. And then he went on to he had a master's in recreation too. He went to U of O after. But I wonder, like, when you were in college, were you like, I'm interested in doing, what did you think you were going to be? And then like you graduated and moved to Vegas and it was all a different story, is my interpretation.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, that's kind of how it went down. Originally, I wanted to work for Parks and Rec and do youth sports. So that's kind of where like the track and all of that came in. So during my master's program, I had to do an internship with the city, and I realized how incredibly boring it was to sit in an office all day and not have like too much work to do. And most people around me didn't have very much work to do, and they're bored, and it like wasn't fulfilling. And I could not even imagine like going into that after that like 6 month experience. So at that time, I was still working in the industry, so doing bottle service on the Las Vegas Strip. So I just kind of like continued on that path for a while because I figured I don't know exactly what I want to do. I know I don't want to do that.
What a contrast. Like you're hanging out with kids at parks and then you're up like late at night and doing bottle service, which is like, I watched the cheerleader show about the Dallas cheerleaders, and a girl, like a Kappa from Idaho, was on there too. And it seems like as or more intense to get in shape to be one of those girls to do bottle service. Not that you're like dancing as much as they are or like needing to know routines, but like body wise, there's so much that like you have to be prepared to present a certain way. And then like, I think the recreation part of it makes sense too, because obviously you have to be in shape, but like, how did you define fitness then?
Yeah, I mean, it's those auditions and to work on the Las Vegas Strip, it's super intimidating. Like the most beautiful women in the world, like are applying for those jobs. So you're in a bikini next to like 3,000 other beautiful women, applying for jobs. So that's definitely an intimidating process. But because you're hired as a model, you had to keep yourself in shape. So that's where I just like, from track and everything, and even through college, I lifted a little bit and exercised, but I had to maintain that figure. So that just kept me exercising. That's also kind of where my personal training career started, is because my coworkers also had to stay in shape. So when I started training, I just naturally developed a clientele because I basically trained my coworkers. It was part of our job. So that's how I kind of like organically grew in Las Vegas very easily,
Cool.
which is a perk. Yes. Yeah.
One of the things that even now, so I had 2 kids and 2 years apart. And then I went intensely into, I'm taking my body back. And like, as a person, I'm sure you have a fair amount of clients who are moms, like my body became not my own in so many different ways. And then I wasn't ever like, I love 30 for 30. I love a sports movie, like, and I've been kind of dissecting that for myself. Like, what is it? Because I don't identify as an athlete, even though my dad, like, he was a parks director. So he majored in sports. Like, he was annoying to be with because he knew the rules for everything. Like, you couldn't go bowling with him without it being like a thing of, let me show you your right form. And so it was this whole thing where like I was kind of bred to be an athlete, and then I would just sit around with my books. Like, I was meant to be more of an athlete than I was. And when I went on this whole journey, like I hired a personal trainer because I knew I needed to like learn my body and hold myself accountable. And I probably like, even though our listeners can't see me, but I'm like in 10 layers and it's still cold and rainy here. Like my body probably looks the best it has since I ate only lean cuisines and went to the gym one summer in college. But I find that even now, like I do a lot of lifting, and so many women still don't know. So many people still don't know. Like when I was in college, I was on the elliptical, I did some sit-ups and then I left. And now I'm like, no, I have to lift. And I'm curious if like during that time you were learning the benefits of lifting even then, like way before. I think there's more knowledge now, but so many women have that kind of conflated idea of like, I'm going to look like this CrossFit person and be all bulky and gross, when really I just want to look like feminine and toned. And how much like even now, and then you had to have these conversations of like, the lifting is not going to make you big. It's going to get you the body that like you want for this particular thing, and how much you can like manipulate your own body and muscles with the addition of nutrition to like get where you want to go. But I think we all just thought elliptical sit-ups, at least I did, leave.
Yeah, that's super common. That's probably a conversation I have on a weekly basis with people, especially females. A lot of them are terrified of lifting. I think now with like social media, people are becoming more educated, which is nice. And now I'm starting to see people come in knowing they need to build muscle. So that's nice. But yeah, definitely like when we were in college, that wasn't talked about. Cardio queens, core, like that was very popular. But I think, yeah, I mean, it's educating people on the fact that it's actually very, very hard to build muscle. So I put on about 20 pounds of muscle that took me 2 years to do. And that's like 2 years of consistently hitting the gym 5 days a week, like nutrition on point. Like that's not going to happen from like 3 months of lifting weights. Like definitely not. And especially if you're, you know, your diet's on point for your goals, for your body composition, like there's no way like that's going to happen. It's actually very, very difficult. But on the health side of it, I think what people don't understand is if you have low muscle mass, that's a number one indicator to developing chronic disease. That's what they're looking for now. So when I get a client in and I see that they have low muscle mass, which is super popular, especially for people that have been doing cardio or not consuming enough protein, that's concerning for me. So I want to address that. And I know, especially women in their head thinking gain or muscle mass, like those are like triggering words, like the scale's going to go up, or mass. They think like big. But in reality, you know, the more muscle mass you have, the leaner and the more fit you look. And I think that's the look that most females are after, but they never give their body the opportunity to get there because they're afraid of it.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And that's why I hired a trainer, because I knew like my nature, my uneducated nature is just going to go. And like, even at the gym, I remember I went to the Gold's Gym when it was new in Meridian in Idaho, and I would like walk past the weightlifting area because it was too intimidating to me. I didn't know what to do there. So that's why part of why I went to the elliptical, because like I didn't know what to even pick up. Plus, it was all full of men that I didn't want talking to me. I just wanted to watch Kardashians, do my sit-ups and leave, get my smoothie. And now that I am so much more educated, like my husband will try to grab my thighs and he's like, it's so hard, which is great. I love it. Like I'm in that X bar and I go and tell my trainer all the things that you say on Instagram. I'm like, my sorority sister said that this is, and that's my holdup too. Now I'm not eating enough protein calories to like feed my muscles. So that's my next step of like adding more smoothies. And they're so like integrated, and it doesn't have to be smoothies, but more protein because I eat a lot of protein already. So that's why I'm saying smoothies. But I just find that like what you're doing is so important for so many women because I feel like we're stubbornly uneducated. Like a lot of us just want to be ignorant about this thing of like what we've seen. And it's hard to like change our brains into thinking that we need to start lifting. So I'm here like beating that drum all the time too. And then the added layer of nutrition on top of it, like when you were back in that first job and you had to have a certain body, were they setting you up for success at all? Or were they just like, you need to show up and look a certain way? Or were they providing you with some like resources to get there? Or was that all you and what you knew?
Oh, yeah, they definitely didn't provide us with anything. It's about like maybe a 30-second interview of let me see what your body looks like. You're in, you're out, and
Dang.
that's it. Yes, yeah. So yeah, that was on us. And that's why a lot of the cocktail waitresses ended up hiring a personal trainer because they needed those tools to get the body the way that they needed it to.
Yeah. So my understanding of your journey was like you were doing bottle service. And then you were making enough money to start like putting it towards this dream of gym ownership. And it sounds like you were also training on the side. So you also had that, like, what does it take to become a personal trainer, first of all? And then how do you parlay that into gym ownership? Because I remember watching it and it seeming kind of like stop and go for you. Like there were a lot of like, okay, we're almost there. And then it didn't happen. And I'm sure COVID played a part in it too. But how did you go from that next step? Okay, I'm doing bottle service, I'm making good money, and then now's the next thing.
Yeah, so the gym idea actually came first. So I came up with that idea actually in college. So I don't know if you remember the rec center at all, but they
Yeah.
had this little like strip of like 7 machines. It was like in this little corner and they had a timer on it. And you would like move every, I don't know, I think maybe it was like Tabata style. So like every 20 seconds.
Yep.
So I remember like really liking that, because I wasn't too familiar with like weight training yet. So I was like, okay, so I can just like go on here, use the machines, like move every 20 seconds and I'm good. So I always like kept that in the back of my head. I was like, this is very effective for me, but it can be done a lot better than this, like shoved in the corner, something no one used. So I had the idea to create a whole gym around that concept. And that's something I pulled with me, like even when I graduated, so that it always been in the back of my head. So actually why I started personal training was just to establish the business in order to build the gym.
Cool.
So yeah, you kind of have to, in order for like landlords to approve you to get like small business loans, like that has to be established. So I didn't even want to do personal training at first. I was like, I'm just going to do this as a means to like start the business. And I ended up falling in love with it. So I'm glad it ended up working out that way. And it gave me like a really strong foundation, like going into the gym. I already had that clientele base, which helped us out a lot because a brick and mortar is like no joke and your overhead's insane.
Yeah.
So I wasn't quite prepared for that. So at least I have that established clientele to bring in like some form of money. So yeah, so that's kind of how I started personal training. It was because I was reaching for that end goal of creating the gym.
Yeah. Well, and this is kind of tangential and something that I did in my corporate jobs that I still do a little bit now is influencer marketing. That's why I keep bringing up like the Bachelor people. And not, it doesn't seem like you hired them. And even if you did a beautiful job of it. But like, it seems like they're eager to tell their networks of how much you're helping them. Because even now, like I have a male personal trainer. There's not a lot of like female personal trainers who look like how you want to look, at least like, in my ecosystem. I don't see a lot around, but I don't like make it a habit really to like search them out. So I imagine for them, they're like, oh my gosh, she like looks like me. She understands my lifestyle. She understands what my goals are because they're out on their like in their bikinis and being on national TV. And that's a big deal. Or even the girl on the challenge, like she has to be really, really strong. And I'm sure she wanted to look a certain way too. So having that certainly helps when you're like, there's just a little bit more like, I don't want to say authenticity, but there's like street cred for you of like these people who look really good. They're walking billboards for you and they have good social media followings with probably a fair amount of people in Las Vegas or nearby who could come and train with you or at least like do an online session with you because you do that too. Then you have that like established clientele who can kind of help you market yourself in a very authentic and cool way, which I love. That's not to say it's not going to be still hard as all hell, but you have people who are willing to share your story on their Instagram too, which just spreads your message further.
Yeah, and that's wonderful. Like I'm very grateful for those clients that I have. And yeah, definitely didn't hire them. It's happened like very organically. And that's what I try with all of my clients, is I want them to be excited to share their story. And I definitely don't want to come off as like salesy or anything like that. And I know they're trying to be as organic as possible to their audience as well. So yeah, I feel very blessed to be able to like work with females like that. And yes, I think it does help with the reputation. Obviously, it helps with being seen by more eyes, helping my business grow. But yeah, I don't try to like she's like Emily, she's posting on her own and Haley, like that's them wanting to share their journey, and I like them as influencers because they're very open and they're very honest. And so they're just, sharing their journey as it is. And I'm grateful, just to be able to be a part of it.
What's your process for onboarding people? And the other question I have in my brain is like, when you go in to get Botox or fillers, sometimes people are like, I want Kylie Jenner's lips, but do they really want Kylie Jenner's lips? Same with like wedding makeup or whatever. There's a lot of things that people think they want in their head. So when you're onboarding somebody, is there a lot of that of like, they think they want certain things and you're like, we got to start here? Or I'd just love to know about how you help them set their goals.
Yeah, definitely. So I always start with the personal training and online with a consultation. So kind of go over like what they're looking for, what they're currently doing, what they've been doing. And then any of my in-person clients, I do a body composition scan. So I use the InBody machine, which is super valuable. It will tell me like their muscle mass, fat, water, if they have any muscular imbalances, and that gives me a really good window into like what's happening on the inside. So a lot of times what I see is, well, number one, I'll have very lean people or lean to like the common American. They're like, I need to lose 15 pounds. And I'll like get them on the scale and it'll be like, you need to like gain 10 pounds of muscle. And like, so it's having to like not fight with them, but having to educate them on no, this is actually the opposite of what you need to do. We need to put you to caloric surplus. We need to do weight training and you need to build muscle. And I promise you, you're going to like your body more if we do this. Like you are not fat. You do not have fat to lose. We need to recomp. We need to build. And then I also have people that nutrition's a big part of this. So that's a part of my program as well. And I will only work with you if you do the nutrition program as well. And so many people are like, I don't need that. Like I eat fine. Like my nutrition's good. And I've literally never come into contact with one single person that's told me what they eat in a day. And I'm like, you're right. Like that's perfect. You don't need any help. Like usually those people will be like, well, I don't eat till 2 p.m. or I don't drink very much water. I drink diet soda instead. Like, and it just like, it's crazy, but it's, yeah, that's what I see. So I try to set the stage from the very beginning, and just educating them that this is actually not what you need. This is what we need to work on. And so it kind of opens up their eyes and they go into the program with a different mindset.
Yeah. I feel like you have to do a lot of counseling.
Yes, definitely.
And that's got to be really hard for people. Like, I don't really weigh myself. I haven't since I was pregnant with my son, and they told me I gained too much weight in my first trimester. And I was like, what is weight? And then it just became this kind of stubborn thing that I did. And I've weighed myself once in the past year because my trainer wanted me to. And I find a lot of women have that, like, the weight I put on my license when I was 18, I just want to keep it for whatever arbitrary reason, even though like my body needs to be 20 pounds heavier than that. And for me, I think it would be helpful to have a trainer like you who, like, I could look at you and be like, oh, she does all these things she's telling me to do, and she looks like how I want to look. But we've been fed so much that's just not helpful that I feel like for a lot of people, it would be such a hard transition to make in their brains that you kind of just have to be there really pushing them at first. It's got to be hard for some clients, like just getting them there and getting their minds almost completely flipped.
Yes, yeah, and a lot of times it's not going to happen in the consultation. That might take months. I've had some clients where they worked with me for years until they finally like took my advice and hit a protein goal or something. And then once they saw on the scale what that did, that was like the flip for them. But everyone learns in their own way. Everyone has to be coached in their own way. I try to just continuously like provide the education, and when they're ready to accept it and make the changes, they will. Yeah. And until then, we can only do so much.
Yeah. How are you currently balancing the gym and your personal training sessions with your online portion of your business?
Yeah, so that's been a little bit of a challenge. Like I said, I love personal training, but I was becoming an employee in my business and not an owner in my business. So I was at first training like 60 hours a week, but I had to do that to like keep the lights on. Like that was like a necessity. And now we've grown our staff. We doubled our staff last year. And so now I've been able to take a step back, and I plan on taking more steps back from the one-on-one training just because it puts a ceiling on me, right? Like I can only work with so many people, and I'm so blessed that like my clients are so loyal and they want to stay with me for so many years, but it also limits the amount of people that I can help. And I want to be able to help anyone that comes in the door. So now I'm kind of building that team underneath me. So where I act as the lead personal trainer, I write all the programming, handle their nutrition, but they're coached. Their sessions are with other trainers. And then that's also allowing me to open up more space for taking online clients, because I really do like have like my soul is just like, yearning to help a lot of people, and not just people in Las Vegas, not just people that live close to the gym. So the online world like kind of opened me up to that, and now I'm just kind of like taking steps in that area, but it's very exciting for me, and it's very like fulfilling to be able to help more people.
These are such huge moves for you. Like, these are big things, and I want to recognize that, because it is, I think we all as business owners get to that point where we think, man, I really am just my own employee, and that kind of sucks. And then they, in certain ways, like not entirely, because it sounds like you're like me, where I want to work. I love working. I get a lot of fulfillment out of it. I'd never want to not work, but I am also in this place where I do genuinely feel like I help people, and I want to do that at a bigger scale and more easily, where I can't just be one-to-one writing your website. I need to be off like helping everyone write their websites. How do I do that? And becoming more of that. So I love seeing, that's why I was really passionate about like, I got to get Sarah on here, because if she's opening this up to an online world, then there's a lot of women in my fold who need you, who I just want to be like, this is your person. This is where you need to start. The stuff that you're doing online, it's mostly nutrition, or it's also with training?
So I currently have two programs. So like an online training program, but it's basically my personal training program, but just in an online format. So I still include obviously like the exercise program, but then also the nutrition, because that's like 80% of the change of body composition. And then I just recently introduced my functional health program. So that's for anyone that's dealing with like hormone imbalances, gut issues, weight loss resistance, anything like that. So that's kind of like a tier above, and digging a little bit deeper into the health side as opposed just to the training, nutrition, like body composition stuff.
How do they do that? Like, are you sending me things to do like stool samples so you can look at my gut bugs, or like that is, I want to know all of those things. Like, I'm at the doctor being like, no, you're telling me that my blood is good and all the extra things that you're testing for are like optimal, but I need to find what's wrong with me, because I don't feel off, but I know that there's always something that I could be optimizing. I'm that person where I'm like, Sarah, are you going to send me a kit that I'm going to like give you my saliva, my hair, my everything, and then you're going to tell me what's wrong with me? Because that's what I want.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a case by case basis. So I honestly can tell a lot about people on in the consultation, like just off of their like biofeedback and their symptoms. I'll always like ask to like test, just so I'm not giving them something that they don't need. But usually what I think is happening in the consultation is what ends up showing up on the tests. So what's nice is, since I'm going back to school to be a functional health practitioner, is I'm working with this coaching company, and it's also a medical company. So they have Western medicine doctors on staff. So I can request those types of tests for my clients. So instead of them having to go to like their OB and like fight basically to get blood work done, we're able to run that very easily. And that's something I can just hop on the website, get that sent over to them, and they can complete it on their own. So they're not having to wait 2 months to see the doctor, get in a fight with the doctor about nothing's wrong with you, you're being a hypochondriac, and then, have them just say, oh, well, this is normal, or here's some birth control, So just, yes, us taking, I guess, our power back, and us like able to provide like clients with those tests right off the bat in an easy format. And yeah, I think more people are genuinely interested in their health, and there shouldn't be that much of a barrier to find out more things about your body.
No. And insurance and everything. And there's also that whole level of people are so fixated on going through insurance. And it makes sense in the sense of them like, well, I'm already paying for it, so these things should be covered. But like, I'm sure you're on this level as well. Like, we don't have a healthcare system here. So it's very much like fighting with them, and you have to often, to get the kind of care like you provide, you have to go outside of insurance, and then that is cost prohibitive for a lot of people. And you're like, okay, I want to explore my bio individuality, but I can't because the test is $5,000.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's a limitation to like holistic or natural medicine right now, is it's just not covered by insurance, and it is really expensive, and those tests can add up really fast. what I try to do with my clients is like that, like I said, that biofeedback is huge. And so I know like what we need to hone in on. So instead of doing like 5 tests, we can like, let's start with one, right? And let's see what we can get up there. That's going to be more cost effective. So yeah, it is tough. And I hope that one day maybe insurance is going to cover, holistic or functional health practitioners and the testing that's involved with that. That would be amazing. So more people could take part in it. But yeah, I agree with you. They can get spendy, but working with someone that can identify like what you need and what's priority in your health, I think is huge.
Yeah. Do you have people who are working with you who are like, they hit a wall at some point? Like you said, they have hormone imbalances or weight loss resistance. And it's like, then you need to go to that next level? Or do you have people who are in the fold who are doing like the testing and nutrition and coaching at the same time? You said they have to do nutrition to be coached by you. But like, my question is more around, do they come in curious about all of that, or knowing that they have some kind of health issue that could like keep them from hitting their goals? Or is that something you discover along the way, or like a combination?
Yeah, most people have no idea that they just think, oh, I'm overeating, oh, I'm not exercising enough.
Yeah.
They have no clue like what could be going on with like their organs or
Yeah.
their hormone production. We're just not educated in that way, or most people aren't. So usually it's me working with them for a little bit of time and then discovering, okay, like your weight's not shifting how it should be, or we're not seeing any movement here. Like something's going on. As long as they're following the plan, I can tell by the way they're progressing if something's working or not, and if we need to take a different approach to it.
Yeah. It's so important that you can help the whole person. Because even like my best friend, one of our sorority sisters, she had really bad postpartum. And I told her I had to be pretty pushy with her because she comes from a long line of Western, like her whole family is Western medicine nurses, and they're amazing people. But she was like blocked there, not open to exploring her body in a different way. And I said, I really feel passionate about this. I'm going to be pushy about it for you. I like made the consult appointment for her to talk to a health coach to get some hormone tests done, because a lot of like the things that she was facing, I knew were like based on something that could be going on with her gut and affecting her hormones. And she was beating herself up about like, I had these babies. I already am so, my body is just given to these kids and I'm crying all the time. I have all these stomach issues. And I said, you really need to like, if you need the psychiatrist, I support it. I'd like you to figure out if it's something that needs an antidepressant, because it could be something that is more like based in your gut. And so many people don't realize. That's why I'm trying to get my gut bugs tested at all times, because I'm like, everything comes from your gut in so many ways. And it was that for her. And she ended up like thanking me for it, for being so pushy.
Yeah. Our guts are our second brain. So it's super important. And a lot of times, what a lot of mothers don't understand is postpartum is usually caused by nutrient deficiency. And that could be because your body's unable to absorb nutrients properly. So you could be taking like your prenatals, your postnatals, like doing all the right things. But if you're not, you are what you absorb, not necessarily what you eat. So yeah, looking into that is super important and can help a lot of people instead of just being on a prescription drug for a couple of years that just numbs your symptoms.
Yeah. And what you're doing, like what that just brought up that I want to underline for anyone listening, is that why what you do is so important is it's root cause based. Like people are coming into you, maybe like, especially in Vegas, for something that's like a little, more ego driven or whatever. It doesn't matter like why people are there. It's good to want your body to look good and feel good in your body. But then you start digging underneath that and really getting to like the root cause of things that they might be feeling off about that they didn't realize. And it becomes this whole person thing, like you've said, of how do we be our best, look our best, and perform our best? Because when you are good in your body, it's better for your business, it's better for your brain, it's better for your family, it's better for the community. It really is this whole huge ripple effect. And I feel so strongly about what you're doing, and like I'm cheering you on in such a big way of like, this is her next step. Yes. Like she's going to get us all like to where we want to be, looking, feeling, embodying, you know?
No, thank you. Yes, yeah, I'm very passionate about it and super excited to dive into that more and to truly help people. Yeah, like I'm mind, body, and soul. Yeah,
Yep.
whole body.
Yep. I love it. I've written a couple doctors' websites in the past couple years. They've gone through rebrands. And so the first one we did was my mom's functional medicine doctor, who when we were in college, actually, she was going through menopause and turned into a crazy person. And then she started doing bioidentical hormones with this functional medicine doctor. And I'm like, you saved my life. Like my mom was so crazy until she started working with you. And so she and I have been on that train forever because of even before that. But like, that's her first line of defense. And she had the means and the research to know, but so many people don't. And that's why them being able to look at somebody like you, like, I went to school with her, I know her, let me like see what this is about, or even giving them the opportunity to get curious about their own bodies just by seeing a post of yours, I think is going to be transformative for so many people. So I'll just continue to be here cheering you on.
Awesome. I appreciate it.
I wanted to ask you what we call rapid fires that don't have to be rapid. If your answer does not feel rapid to you, it doesn't have to be, but we have like 5 or 6 questions we ask everybody. So I'm going to start with, what are you proudest of in your business right now?
I think I'm the most proud of the community that I built. It's such like a very strong, like comfortable community of people where, a lot of gyms have like they're crowded, people are intimidated to work out there, there's unfriendly people. I think like we figured it out, so we only align with like the right customers and now the right employees, so that we've created like this beautiful environment, and it's like a safe space for people to come and heal, basically, is what we're trying to do.
That's a big deal. I love that you said it that way too, because so many people, they don't think of it that way, and it really is that. And it's a vulnerable thing to be there and like working on your body. And for me, I was telling my husband, I feel like it's kind of like a foreign language, in the sense that you're learning it for years, and then all of a sudden you wake up and you were dreaming in that language. That's how I feel about like consistently taking care of my body, in a way where I woke up one morning and I was like, damn, I look good. I see my muscles. I see like all this work, and it's taken 2 years to get there, to be like looking at my body in a way of like, this is what I've been working to attain, that feels like me. And it has been a healing process in so many ways.
Yeah,
so
that's awesome.
Yeah. Tell us about a book you read or a podcast you listened to recently that changed the way you're thinking about your life or your business.
I would say, so this morning I actually listened to, I just started, I don't know if you know her, Layla Hermosi. So they're like a little more popular in like the fitness industry, her and her husband. They started with this business called Gym Launch. They sold it for like hundreds of millions of dollars. They're absolutely like crushing it. But I just recently started listening to her podcast after following her on Instagram. And what we kind of spoke about earlier is like entrepreneurship can be very lonely. And if you're not interacting with a ton of people, which I don't do a ton of that, simply for the fact that I'm busy. Mm-hmm. So just hearing her insights and her like talking about like other things that are going on in her business, like they're, a multi-million-dollar business. Their problems are a lot bigger than mine. Right. So it kind of made me feel like, okay, like my problems aren't that bad and I'm not alone in this. Like we're not the only ones that are dealing with employee issues. We're not the only ones that, are dealing with anything. Like you're not alone, no matter like how much it feels like that. Like every entrepreneur goes through these things.
Mm-hmm. And to find somebody in your industry who's doing it in a big way too, as I call them expanders, people to look up to, who expand your knowledge of what's possible and what might be in your world soon. I love that. And there's so many more resources now, even than when Emily and I met each other through a Facebook moms group like 4 years ago. So that's really cool. And we'll link it in the show notes as well, so people can check her out. What would your last meal be?
Probably Mexican food. I, yes, anything Mexican.
Tacos?
Yes, yeah. And I'm a big like sauce girl, so like salsa, sour cream. Yes.
Yes. What's the best business purchase you made in the last 6 months under $100? That one is hard for people usually.
Yes, under $100 is tricky. We did hire a general manager, definitely over $100. That was huge for. Oh man.
And you can break the rule too. I mean, this is your stage, so we always tell people that too. Like, you don't want to say $100, you don't have to.
Yeah, I mean the general manager has probably been the most valuable thing for us. That was a big step for us because my partner and I had been running it on our own for 5 years, but we got to the point where we realized like we're not good at managing people.
Yeah.
And there are people that are very good at managing people and they like to manage people.
Yep.
So finding that person is what we needed. And yes, it's helped us a lot.
And it's terrifying
Hmm.
to release that control, especially for a big salary. So props to you, because I'm in that same boat where like I help one of my clients is a co-working space and I manage our staff. And I'm like, wait, this is why I quit all my jobs before I managed people. Like, I'm a good mentor. I am not a good manager because I don't understand. Like, why?
Yes.
I mean, I understand the psychology, but they don't understand their own psychology. So that I'm just staring at them like, I don't like that you did this and I don't like that you don't care. And now I'm taking it personally and it's not healthy for anyone.
Yeah. It's very challenging. I was surprised at that when I started when I became a boss, I thought I would enjoy it. And turns out, yeah, I think when you have a certain mindset and like when you're a high achiever, I think we have to understand that not everyone's like that.
Yes.
And yes, and not everyone's like capable of completing a job with the time and efficiency that you can. And that's really hard to wrap your head around if you've been like that your whole entire life.
Yep.
So and I just got to the point where maybe I'm not supposed to understand it, or maybe I'm not supposed to do that because there's someone here that like does understand that, and she really enjoys like managing and helping people in that way. And then I can just focus on what I'm passionate about, and that's helping our customers.
Yep. That's a big part of it for me too. Like, hearing you say that is super validating, because I think a lot of it is part of like being an achiever and not understanding why people aren't moving at my pace or care about things the way that I do, or all of that. And then I get to, I can't take myself out of it. And even if I do like try to, I'm still just like personally hurt all the time.
Yes, yes, same.
Or Jim. I mean,
Yes.
it is personal. So yeah, as much as you can say like, intellectualize, nobody can care about my business as much as I do. And I get that. Like, it's still just never, you can't change how you feel in some of those instances. So I love that for you. To that end, what's lighting you up lately?
Definitely the functional health stuff. I see my career like going in that direction, especially now that I feel like my gym is like a teenager now. Like, it's not a baby. It doesn't need to be babysat. It's like getting ready to like go off on its own. And so I can kind of take a step back and like dive deeper into that, because that's where I see my career going like in the future, and truly helping people, like healing people. Like,
Yeah,
exercise is
it's
important,
such a big
nutrition
deal.
is important, but like but healing people, like doing things unfortunately that like our Western medicine system like isn't doing. Like someone needs to like step up and help people in the right way.
Absolutely. The last question, I actually stole this from Rainn Wilson, who was on The Office, Dwight, and he asked it on his podcast, and he asked everybody, what is one experience everyone should have?
Probably, I mean, probably like a failure. And I don't believe in failures. I don't look at them like that in my head, but you need to learn how to reframe failures. So if something doesn't work, it's not, oh crap, I'm going to quit, right? It's this is a lesson for me. This is just, a lesson for me in what way, how to not move forward. And when you look at it like that, especially if you want to be an entrepreneur, like you're going to run into that stuff all the time. Or even like if you're trying to like follow a diet plan, right? Like you get out, you fall off the wagon for a couple days. Oh, I failed. I'm going to quit. No, this isn't a time to quit. What did you learn from that? And how can that help you move forward?
That's such important advice. It's redirection always. And as a person who I feel like is a mostly reformed perfectionist, that was a really hard lesson for me to absorb. And especially now, like I'm working on putting more my own creative writing out into the world. And that's really scary because I can't edit and it is so subjective. I could edit something forever and like keep it to myself, but at a certain point I have to release it. Just like you said, your gym is a teenager, my business is a teenager. Now I can do more of my own stuff that feels a little bit more vulnerable. And it's very much like, how am I defining failure? And what is the purpose of this certain thing that I'm putting out there that I'm doing? And if it reaches one person, helps one person, great. That's where I'm at. But also I'm open to being like, if it helps 100 million people, that's great too.
Yeah, definitely.
As women, what I've really appreciated about you too is like seeing you're not willing to shrink, even if sometimes you feel that on the inside, like we all do. I love that you continue to put yourself out there, push yourself, and genuinely believe like, I'm not selling something. I'm here to help heal in this certain way and building blocks of all these new ways. So because I feel so strongly about everybody needing you, I want them to know how they can find you. So tell us your website, your socials, your programs, everything.
Sure. Well, probably the best way to find me and all of that information is on Instagram. So it's Coach Sarah Martinez. That has like all the links to like my website, the programs that I offer. I post a bunch of educational information on there as well.
Awesome. Yeah. And you have links to everything from there. So start on Sarah's Instagram. What I do too on our Coast Instagram is I continue to share things out that I see from our guests who past, present, and future, so that our audience can see that and make sure that we're all cheering each other on. And I just appreciate you and your time so much and seeing my fellow DGs thrive out in the world. So thank you for taking an hour with us, and we will see you next time on the coast.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, Whitney.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.